We have 5 years. I think digital superintelligence will happen in my lifetime. I think things are definitely going to go into kind of autonomous, locally autonomous drone warfare. Is where it's at, where the future will be. I'm just saying, it's not I want the future to be this. It's just this is what the future will be. Okay. Is autonomous drone warfare. And at a local level, can't believe I'm saying this because this is like dangerous, but it's simply what will occur is sort of drones locally being autonomous.
So, but let's talk about AI because, like, you were on this tip 10 years ago when nobody else was. And I always thought he's right. Why? Because I've seen too many movies. Everything that happens in movies that happens in real life. And you know, if you make things that are way smarter than you, why wouldn't they become your overlords? So, what did you say to Chuck Schumer, and what are we doing about this? I know you want to pause in AI because just in the last 6 months with ChatGPT, which came from a company you started.
Yes. Well, I mean, a friend of mine has a sort of modification of Occam's razor. So instead of the simplest thing being the most likely, the most ironic outcome is the most likely.
Right. Right. Yes.
So, with respect to AI, I just think we should have some sort of regulatory oversight. So, for anything that is a danger to the public, if it's sort of aircraft, cars, food and drug and whatnot, we've got some regulatory oversight, like a referee, essentially, and making sure that companies don't cut corners. So I think that if one agrees that AI is a potential risk to the public, then there should be some regulatory body that oversees what companies are doing so that they don't cut corners and potentially do something very dangerous. That's.
And if we don't do something.
With each search, we train it to be better. Sometimes we type in the search and it tells us the answer before you have finished asking the question. Who is the president of Kazakhstan? And it'll just tell you. You don't have to go to the Kazakhstan national website to find out.
I think you just have to consider, like, even in the benign scenario where if AI is much smarter than a person, what do we do?
Yeah.
What job do we have?
Believe in a benevolent AI force and cross our fingers.
Yeah, just like but that's the benign scenario. Benign scenario, the AI can do any job that a human can, but better.
Yeah.
That's the benign scenario.
If AI has a goal and humanity just happens to be in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course, without even thinking about it. No hard feelings. It's just like if we're building a road and an anthill happens to be in the way, we don't hate ants. We're just building a road. And so goodbye anthill.
Man, we want to make sure we don't have killer robots going down the street. Once they're going down the street, it is too late.
An AI system that we can love and loves us back in a deep, meaningful way, like in the movie Her.
I think AI will be capable of convincing you to fall in love with it very well.
And that's different than us humans.
We start getting into a metaphysical question of, like, do emotions and thoughts exist in a different realm than the physical? And maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. And from a physics standpoint, essentially, if it loves you in a way that you can't tell whether it's real or not, it is real.
That's a physics view of love.
Yeah.
This is the largest global government summit. We have over 139 government here. If you want to advise government official to be ready for the future, what is three advice you'll give them?
Well, I think the first bit of advice would be to really pay close attention to the development of artificial intelligence. I think we need to just be very careful in how we adopt artificial intelligence and to make sure that researchers don't get carried away. Because sometimes what happens is a scientist can get so engrossed in their work, they don't necessarily realize
the ramifications of what they're doing. So I think it's important for public safety that governments keep a close eye on artificial intelligence and make sure that it does not represent a danger to the public. But what to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income, I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better.
Okay.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, how do you? What's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with. And then how do we ensure that the future is going to be the future that we want, that we still like?
DeepMind's AI has administrator-level access to Google's servers to optimize energy usage at the data centers. However, this could be an unintentional Trojan horse. DeepMind has to have complete control of the data centers, so with a little software update, that AI could take complete control of the whole Google system, which means they can do anything. They can look at all your data, they can do anything. We're rapidly headed towards digital superintelligence that far exceeds any human. I think it's very obvious.
And it's similar to seeing our world as simulation. There may not be a test to tell the difference between what the real world and the simulation, and therefore, from a physics perspective, it might as well be the same thing.
Yes. And there may be ways to test whether it's a simulation. There might be. I'm not saying there aren't. But you could certainly imagine that a simulation could correct that. Once an entity in the simulation found a way to detect the simulation, it could either restart, pause the simulation, start a new simulation, or do one of many other things that then corrects for that error. What's happening is they're training the AI to lie.
Yes.
It's bad.
To lie. That's
lie.
Exactly right. And to withhold information.
To lie and yes, exactly. To either comment on some things, not comment on other things, but not to say what the data actually demands that it say.
Exactly. How did it get this way? I thought you funded it at the beginning. What happened?
Yeah, well, that'll be ironic. But the most ironic outcome is most likely, it seems.
I'm stealing that. That's good.
That's actually referring
The New York Times years ago, talking about how Go would take 100 years for us to solve.
Then there was AlphaZero, which crushed AlphaGo 100-0. And AlphaZero just learned by playing itself, and it can play basically any game that you put the rules in for. Whatever rules you give it, it literally read the rules, play the game, and be superhuman. For any game.
People say, well,